Ladies, if you want to learn how to be pursued across the entire courtship, right? The 8 weeks, the 8 dates, whatever comes first, casual to committed. If you want to learn how to be chased that entire time, you have to watch this entire video. I am going to explain to you the secrets, the concepts of power dynamics, and how powerful they actually are to getting people to chase, okay? So, enough of all that. We're going to jump right into it. The first thing you have to understand is what I call the power exchange, meaning there are going to be times, okay, and you must do this. I'm going to explain what happens if you don't. There are going to be times where you must give up power and you must exchange it. Now, why is this? When you're courting somebody, what you have to understand is that a guy is the pursuer. And if you think of it as someone chasing a hog, right? Not that you're a hog. But if you look at it from an ancestral perspective, where, you know, we're chasing down our food, you can only chase it so much. You can only chase it for so long before it becomes, I guess, a casualty, like diminishing returns. You know, I could chase it for miles and miles and miles. I'm losing calories. I'm losing weight. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Energy. I'm down. Now I'm even hungrier and I got nothing. Therefore, when the next thing comes along, do I even have the energy to do it? So you have to give something up eventually. And I guess the modern day equivalence of this is if you're someone who doesn't know how much to like dangle the carrot in front of the guy, or if you play too hard to get, a guy's just going to drop you. A guy's just going to drop you. You know, I'll have women come to me all the time saying, hey, he was pursuing me and, you know, it's not like I just was a doormat, Elliot. I made him do this, you know. So I'm like, well, yeah, because you're one of many. You're pursuing harder than his initial attraction is. If you're talking to someone and you haven't even been on 3 or 4 dates, I always emphasize like the importance of getting to the 3rd date. But if you haven't even got to the 3rd date and you're making this guy jump through a bunch of hoops, he's going to drop you. Why? Because there's no strong emotion. There's no strong, I don't want to say obsession, but desire. He doesn't like, you don't know what you lose. You don't realize what you lost. Okay. So he has no problem just, I guess, cutting his losses and going elsewhere. So you have to know kind of how to balance this. But what I'm getting at is there's always a power exchange. And throughout the relationship. And in the beginning, I don't want to say it's 50-50. I hate saying this because it depends on a lot of things. And we'll go over that. But just for the most part right now, I want to keep it simple. Say the power is 50-50 in the beginning. Okay? It's you're a good-looking girl. He sees you. He's attracted to you. He wants to court you. Okay? He wants you. But to do that, again, you're not just going to put out just because somebody wants you. He has to court you. So he's going to invest his resources. And like I said, he's only going to do that so long before it's like, well, I'm investing all my resources. I'm not getting anything out of it. I'll be an idiot to continue. I'm out. So at that stage, the courtship, him investing in you, you have a lot of power. Okay? And I'm not telling women to put out, but there has to be a time where he eventually gets what he wants. And I'm not saying it's just sex, but it does have to progress intimately. We'll just say physically. I don't want to say you have to put out, but you know what I'm saying. It has to, and he has to earn it, but it has to get to the point where you guys mess around, okay? And then after you mess around, he has power now. Now, why is this? Why does the power transition to the man and not the woman? There are 2 things I tell women to always value: who she puts her time into, right? So you have to put a price on your time. Who is investing in you to get your time so that your time has a price? And secondly is who you're sleeping with. Those need to be 2 very powerful decisions, very strong decisions that you make. And when a man is pursuing a woman and she puts out, okay, when you think about the concept of parental investment theory, meaning like the more invested sex is at a higher risk. Therefore, she needs to be the more choosier sex, which is the woman. And the reason that is our physiology. So if you look at our physiology, a man could go out, spread his seed, bang a bunch of women, and come back the next day, maybe with a bad reputation and an STD, which are bad things, but you know what I'm saying. A woman, on the other hand, from an ancestral perspective, she can go out and do this, and, you know, if she gets pregnant, and again, I'm not talking about condoms, I'm talking about the way the brain works. You know, when you're pregnant, you're not the same person, you know, later on. You're pregnant, and you got to deal with that for 9 months. You're slower, you need more calories, more protection, you're more vulnerable to predators, you become a prey, you're ostracized by other men, you need more resources and care and the community, all that kind of stuff. That's why men like variety and women like quality and more monogamy and things like that. So, you know, you become the choosier sex, or you are the choosier sex. So when you put out, you know, you should at least be expecting that he's going to give you more, okay, than just hooking up. This is why I tell women, and you're going to see how this all connects. This is why I tell women, you constantly have to be, you have to be honest with yourself, and he has to earn by investing his resources into you consistently over time, energy, effort, money. He has to be investing these things into you to get the reward, okay? Because this proves to you. Now, I know guys can be lying, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's better than nothing. You have to know that this guy is going to transition into a relationship, because that's when you get your power again, okay? So now he has all this power, but you're like, thank God I did my background check. I did some detective work, and this guy wants a relationship. I asked him. He says we're on the same page, and up to this point, he's been a really nice guy. He doesn't seem emotionally unavailable. He seems great. So then you transition into a relationship. Now you have power again, okay? Because he's going away from his sexual strategy, which is, variety, and he's focusing on monogamy. He likes you. He has a lot, and he likes what you guys want the same thing. He likes what you guys have, and you're progressing towards, happily ever after. So now you're in a relationship and you have power again. And then lastly, I think the power balances out when sex becomes commonplace in the relationship. He doesn't have any power, and he's kind of in a pickle if he's in a monogamous relationship, but the girl doesn't want to have sex. Well, if she doesn't want to have sex, then he's not having sex, right? So when you both want a relationship, great. And then you both are having sex with each other, great. The power is 50-50 again. Now, with all that being said, okay, what I want you to get out of that is you have the most power in the courtship stages. So I say dates 1 to 4. What you really need to be doing in this time is seeing if he's investing consistently over time, his time, energy, effort, money, okay, doing your background check, doing your detective work, and seeing if he actually has earned this stuff, because a guy has to earn your time, and he has to earn getting in your pants. If you just give that to him, you're casual. If you're going to be casual, if you want casual, you're going to be treated casual, okay? So once you do that, you're in a better position to regain the power. Okay, so with that being said, how do we increase these chances of that happening? How do we increase the chances of it moving towards a relationship, of him investing more and all that kind of stuff? So the first concept, and by the way, I talk about this all in my guide. I will put a link right here, or a picture of it, of the guide, and then I will put a picture of the entire box set of the guide. Please, if you want more in-depth information on actually what to say and examples of all of this, especially the power dynamics, get the guide. I go into detail on all the stuff I'm talking about here. So the first concept I go over, especially in the guide, is framing. And what this basically means is all the things you guys do, like in this frame, like this interaction, there's variables. And your job is to convince this guy that your frame or your perspective is the right perspective, and that he needs to follow suit. So an example of that is if you and I are talking, and I want to come off like, I'm not that into you, and that I'm the prize mentality. I'm the prize. I'm the hot one. I have the higher sexual market value, the higher number, and things like that. I'm not going to lean in and be like, oh yeah, you're so dreamy. I love everything you say, and get, like I'm not going to initiate all the time. I'm not going to blow up your phone and respond right away. And I'm not going to ask you on a date and get really jealous when you don't respond. Like, I'm not going to do that stuff, because those are, again, variables that create a frame that you have the power, that that I am more eager than you are. You don't want to do that. You want to create a frame where you have a prize mentality, meaning, like, I'm not saying play hard to get, ladies, but you have to show a guy that there is interest. Again, we'll go into this. It's called intent versus premise. But that there's interest, but he hasn't won you over yet. So what that would look like is, I guess, reciprocity. You never want to, I guess a rule of thumb is this is why it's so important for women to follow and men to lead, masculine and feminine, okay? Because when a man is in his masculine, he's a provider, he's a protector, he's a satisfier, he's courting the woman, he's leading, and she's following suit. Now, when he's doing all this, it's okay to reciprocate, but never cut in line, meaning, like, it's okay to initiate, but never initiate before he initiates. So let's say after the second date, you like, if he initiated the first time after the first date, the first time after the second date, the third date you can initiate, okay? You don't want to do it if you did it last time and he did it the first time. Like, the percentage, the ratios are off. Like, you want to frame it in a way where it's like, no, you still need to chase. But what a lot of women do is, especially dates 1 through 4, or right when they get done having sex with a guy, okay, like, this all flips. And I understand why. It's subconscious. It's not subconscious. It's anxiety. It's self-esteem. It's fear of being alone or losing somebody or being tricked or manipulated. But that's part of the frame. I always tell women, it's called a frame battle. Whoever has the stronger frame when you're battling each other, it usually wins. And one of the ways to have the stronger frame, well, there's several ways. One, be the best actress of all time. Like, just play the part. Don't break frame no matter what, meaning if the guy pulls away, don't chase. You just got to lose him. Like, don't break frame, don't break character. That's number one. Number two is truth, right? Truths, I call it true frame, but facts. So, for example, if you are the better looking woman, it's easier to act, right? Because you believe it. If you're a 10 and this guy's a 6, on average, this guy believes he has no effing chance in hell with a woman like you. He better be stepping up. And you have to play accordingly. You have to be like, nah, dude, you got to kind of step up. And vice versa. There's a lot of women out there who are chasing men, and men, are like pulling back and doing whatever and treating her very casually. Why? Because he doesn't see her. Like, the true frame is, I don't see her long term. I don't see her long term. I don't really care. And that's truly how he believes, while you are trying to, like, fumbling over yourself trying to get the frame back, or the power back with the frame. And the reason this happens, again, I go into a lot of detail in my guide, is because you break frame and you accept his frame. One or two things are going to happen. One of you are going to accept the other's frame. That's what's going to happen. And it's not always bad. I guess I can give you an example of that. It's not always bad, but one of you two are going to accept the other person's frame, or you're just going to hold your frame so much where it just kind of breaks and goes your separate ways. A frame is not bad. A frame should be fun and flirty and lighthearted and stuff like that. You don't have to be a bitch. You don't have to hold your ground all the time and be like, you need to, I don't want to give up my frame to you. You don't want to do that. So let me give you an example. And again, I use this in the guide. If you and I we'll say we're co-workers, and I come up to you, hey, Susie, do you want to go grab a bite to eat after work? I'd like to take you out. And you're like, yeah, sure, Elliot, long as it's just as friends. I'm like, okay, sure. What just happened there was I tried to create a frame by taking you out on a romantic dinner. That's a frame because, again, there's variables that make a dinner romantic. Usually it might be dinner, not lunch. Night date versus day date. It's more just me and you outside of work versus, a group. Like there's frames, there's variables that make it the way it is. However, you started to do a frame battle by saying, no, I want to do it as friends, motherfucker. And then I agreed to your frame. Okay? Now, what is a more playful way of doing this would be me saying, hey, Susie, I'd like to take you out after work, or would you like to go out, have dinner, whatever. And you're like, yeah, as long as it's as friends. And then I say, well, I can't promise you that, but I can promise you'll have a good time. What do you say? And you're like, sure. You don't want to, you want to go along with that frame because it's a playful frame. I'm not trying to gain an advantage on you. It's playful. It's flirty. You will lose more by being like, no, I don't want to do that. I told you as friends. Like that just starts to kill attraction. You get what I'm saying? So that starts to, it just doesn't go well. Don't do it. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to all this is, okay, well, how do you create these frames? How do I keep this power? And it's a concept I talked about before. And again, I talk about it in my guides. Links down in the description. It's called intent versus premise. There is a difference between someone going to the job and saying, going for an interview for a job that they really want. You go in there and you're like, or the guy's like, the manager or whatever, the hirer is, oh, well, you're the only person who applied and you're the only person who showed up. Therefore, you get the job, right? Versus going there and me making you go through the actual interview process. That's intent versus premise. Intent is where you're making it known of your intentions. Like, hey, I want a relationship and I want it with you. Okay? Actions and words both create intent. So when you all tell me, I deleted my dating apps, I'm only talking to him, we agreed to exclusive, don't effing do that because it's intense. He has no competition. He has no worry about you going anywhere because you have no backup because you deleted everything in hopes that you just gave him so much power. Instead, you want premise, meaning you want to talk to a guy and be like, yeah, I'm looking for something serious, but not necessarily with you. You don't want to say that. You just want to play the part. And I guess the best way to play premise is not to play intent. Don't worry about playing premise. Again, more of that's in my guide if you actually want examples. I actually have a graph in there that shows like the scalability of it. But the best way to play premise for, I guess, one-on-one beginners is not to play intent, meaning don't overdo it, don't chase, don't give these like really strong compliments. I have women buying guys shit or cooking them shit. Date, the second date, or he's hurt. Do you want me to bake you a pie? Do you want me to bake you, or do you want me to come over and cook you dinner? Or a woman, she travels 3 hours to go see the guy versus him coming to see her for the first shit like that. You're making it very obvious he has you, and he hasn't even worked for it. Again, there's nothing wrong with this once there's some reciprocity, or there's, him doing the stuff first. Like I said, you never want to cut in line. It's okay if you pay for the third date, if he paid for the first two. It's okay to go see him if he went to go see you the last couple times. It's okay to go over his place if you guys went out on dates the first 3 or 4 times. It's fine. That's all great. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you show premise first, as long as as he shows some intent. Because if you cut in line, if you skip any steps, it's gonna blow up in your face. So with that being said, hopefully you guys got something out of that. This is almost a 20-minute video. Again, if you want to get more, I'm gonna put it right here. If you want more on this, please get my guide on power dynamics and my box set. It will help you, I promise. Ladies, links are in the description. I love you all. Take care and peace.